Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Flow and Restore yoga practice. Today, we're going to continue our physical focus on externally rotating the thighs of the hips, often called hip openers, which addresses the area of the roots and the sacral energy centers, Muladhara and Svadhisthana chakra. Let's take a moment to sit in a way that you can allow your thighs to turn out in front of you. And if you bring the shins closer together, that can make it easier, especially if your hips are feeling tighter today. And if you tend to cross one shin in front or on top of the other most of the time, I invite you to change it up so you can get a more balanced stretch into your hips. And so take a moment to settle in, find a comfortable way to be still. Here's a very short quote from Abraham Hicks. Inspiration comes forth from within. It's what the light burning within you is about, as opposed to motivation, which is doing it because if you don't do it, there will be negative repercussions. Motivation is making myself do something that I don't really want to do. Inspiration is having the clear picture of what I am wanting and letting universal forces come in to play and support the outcome. I love that distinction as we're still in the we're ending the first month of the new year. We might be looking at our goals, resolutions, intentions, things that we want to achieve or change or shift in our lives. And it's really important to come back to your why. Why do you want to achieve this? Where is that coming from? And we'll explore a little bit more about observing our why during sitting meditation, the 10 minutes guided at the end of this practice. But that's something to always kind of keep in mind, like, why am I doing this? Where is the motivation? Is it coming from the ego? Is it coming from an external force where I feel obligated, like it's a should or a shouldn't, because I think somebody's going to expect it of me, even a kind gesture? Is it coming from the heart? Is it coming from sincerity? Is it coming from a bigger picture that you feel deeply connected to in the span of this lifetime and maybe beyond? In yoga, I love this practice called Ishvara Pranidhana, and it can be translated as surrender to the divine. Now, we all have different religious and spiritual beliefs and ways to perceive the word divine, but it's basically what's sacred to you, what is at the core of your greatest values. And how is this action right here stemming or supporting that core value? Like showing up to your practice today. In what way is this aligned with your bigger picture? Let's take a moment to check in with ourselves, pausing to recognize your physical body's way of communicating to you through the different sensations. Observing the state of your energy by noticing the qualities of your breathing without controlling or changing the breath. And noticing the state of your mind and heart. Is your mind feeling restless? Is it feeling grounded? Whatever it is, can you hold space for whatever that is? What emotions are you processing right now? And let the breath in a little deeper through your nose. letting it go through your mouth. Few more clearing exhales through your mouth. Inviting the breath to expand gently into the left and right walls of your rib cage and all the way up to your collarbones. As you empty the breath, taking your time to feel the sensations of releasing each part of the breath out and arriving at the emptiness. Fine-tuning our ability to pay attention to the details and subtleties of the present moment. Let's allow a moment to practice gratitude, thinking of someone or something today that you appreciate. Maybe a few things. Connected to gratitude, clarify an intention or a personal prayer for your practice today. What are you inviting in? What are you letting go of? And then as you think of those around you, I invite you to choose someone or a group of someone's to dedicate your practice to today. Remembering that we show up not just for ourselves, but we show up for each other, and how we can show up for each other by practicing this conscious self-care. And together, let's open our practice chanting, connecting with a vibration at the center of our Mother Earth. Om, 3 times. Let in a deeper breath. Ha. 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 Continuing to slow down and consciously breathe. Let's invite balance of energy, calm and focus through the way you're breathing. Practicing Ujjayi Pranayama, which means victorious breath. Done by closing the lips, breathing just through your nose, equally lengthening in and out breaths, while softly narrowing the back of your throat so that you can hear your breathing. Sounds like a very peaceful ocean wave rising and falling. Take your time to steady a rhythm that you can keep going, especially through our vinyasa flow half of our practice. We're going to be moving to that rhythm that you're creating in the sound of your breathing. So making your way to your back, let's begin with a gentle way of warming up the hips. So as you lie on your back, bending your knees, relax your head and shoulders on the ground. And as slowly as your breathing begin to circle your thighs apart and back together several times, exploring different directions, different diameters of circling each thigh bone. Couple more deep breaths. Now, keeping your knees bent, set your feet on the ground wider apart than hips distance and begin to windshield wiper your shins to the breath. Inhale, drop your knees to one side. Exhale to the opposite. Notice how slowly you're moving your body and feel the synchronization of that movement to your breath length. Remember that your practice is here for you to not have to rush, to slow down, to really listen, especially to your body. And to cultivate presence, awareness of the present moment. Finish this last round on both sides. And then draw your bent knees together and begin to rock and roll forward and back several times. Making your way eventually to stand at the front of your mat in mountain pose. Separate your feet hips distance or wider apart, parallel to each other. Joining your hands in prayer at heart center, connect to your intention for your practice. Offering gratitude to the setting sun right now, the beautiful setting sun. With Surya Namaskar C, sun salutation C. Listen to your breath. As you inhale, sweep your arms overhead, roll your shoulders back and lift your heart. As you exhale, bow forward from your hips. Plant your fingertips on the ground. Inhale, step your left knee behind you. Kneeling lunge, look up. As you hold your breath, step to plank pose. Exhale, lower your knees, chest, then chin. Inhale, slide forward to a gentle cobra pose. Exhale, lift your hips back to downward facing dog. Inhale, step your left foot beside your left thumb. Lower your right knee and gaze up. Exhale, step your right foot forward and fold. Rooting down to your feet, inhale, rise. Dropping your shoulders back and lifting your heart. Exhale, join your palms in prayer at heart center. Side two. Inhale, sweep your arms overhead, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, bow from your hips, Uttanasana. Plant the fingertips down. Inhale, step your right knee back. Kneeling lunge, Anjaneyasana. Hold your breath as you step to plank. Exhale to Ashtangasana, lower knees, chest, then chin. Inhale, slide through to Bhujangasana, cobra pose. Exhale, lift your hips back to Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward dog. Inhale, step your right foot beside your right thumb. Lower your left knee and gaze up. Exhale, step your left foot forward and fold. Root down to your feet. Inhale, rise, Urdhva Hastasana, gentle back bender. Exhale, gather your palms, mountain pose. Let in a deep, deep inhale. Close the lips just as slowly through the nose. Lengthen the exhale. Listen to that whispering sound. Sun salutation A. Inhale, sweep the arms overhead again, coiling your chest up. Exhale, bow forward. Press your hands on your shins, two blocks or the floor. Inhale, lengthen your spine forward. Step back to plank, legs straight or knees on the ground. This time as you exhale, glide forward. Graze your elbows by your ribs in Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale to cobra or upward facing dog. Exhale to downward facing dog. Let's spend a few breaths here, moving any way that your body might need to loosen up, especially in the area of your pelvis. You might raise a leg and circle it out at the hip, pedal your feet, swivel the hips side to side. Notice your breathing. Keep attending to your energy by tending to the breath. All right, find some stillness and empty this breath. Then walk or jump to the front of your mat, forward fold. Press with your hands. Inhale, lengthen to half forward fold. Exhale, fold. Press with your feet. Inhale, rise up, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, join the hands in Padasana. Let's move into Sun Salutation B, bringing your feet together to touch. And on your in-breath, bend your knees together to touch and sit back towards your heels in chair pose, Utkatasana. Exhale, shift forward and fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, lengthen halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Step back and lower through your version of vinyasa or cat-cow at your own pace of breath. When you arrive in downward facing dog, try to keep the hips leveled and inhale, raise your right leg back. Exhale, step the foot gently beside your right thumb, spin the back heel down. Inhale, rise up to warrior one. Exhale all the way down into your version of your vinyasa. Downward facing dog. Keep your hips leveled. Inhale, raise your left leg back. Exhale, step the foot gently beside your left thumb. Drop your right heel. Inhale, rise, Virabhadrasana 1. Exhale, lower into your vinyasa. Downward facing dog. This time, cultivate stillness for 3 to 5 breaths, steadying your eyes on one spot. When your breath sounds smoother and steadier, empty it before you walk or float to the front of your mat, feet together. Inhale, lengthen, half forward fold. Exhale, fold. Inhale, bend your knees, chair pose. And exhale to rise up. And take a moment to pause, observe how your body is responding so far. Notice the state of your mind. Feel your energy through your breathing. And then come back to slow and steady breaths. Let's turn to face the wide width of your mat and step your feet almost as wide apart as you can spread the hands apart. So wide-legged stance. Now from your right hip socket, rotate your right leg to turn out externally 90 degrees. Turn in the left leg 45 degrees. And bend your right knee just on top of the right ankle, opening your arms, warrior two. Steady your gaze just past the right hand. Feel your right outer hip wrap beneath you as you splay open your right thigh while firming the top of your left thigh bone back towards you. Shoulders relax. Last two breaths. Straighten the legs, parallel your feet. Come back to neutral. Now from the left hip socket, turn out the left leg 90 degrees. Turn in the right leg 45 degrees. Align your left heel to intersect the arch of your right foot and bend your left knee directly above your left heel. Open up the arms, steady your gaze just past the left fingertips. Wrap your left outer hip beneath you as you splay open the left knee towards the pinky toe while firming the top of your right thigh bone back, relaxing the shoulders. Last three deep breaths. Let's straighten the legs, parallel your feet once again, and this time bring your hands behind you to either hold a strap between the hands or interlace your fingers. And if you can, hug the heels of your palms together with feet parallel. Inhale, roll the shoulders back and lift your heart. Exhale, hinge from your hips and let the head fall, relaxing your neck. Here for a few breaths. You can add movement, sway the spine. You could bend the knees any amount. As you're stretching the arms further away from your lower back, lift the shoulders and drop the head. Prasarita Padottanasana, wide-legged forward fold. Start to lower your fingertips and come up halfway, lengthening your spine parallel to the ground. Place one hand down, center in front of you on the ground or a block. Raise the opposite arm, begin to twist at your waistline, keeping the pelvis still so you're not turning the hips, keeping the lower back safe. Draw your shoulder blades down your back ribs and lengthen all the sides of your neck. Exhaling as you continue to deepen the twist. Wide across your arms, let in a deep breath. Then exhale, switch hands. Inhale, lengthen the top of your head forward, stretch the whole spine. Keep your hips still, and exhale, rotate your chest in the opposite direction. One more deep breath. And exhale, release the hands. Hold in for just a few last breaths here. Let's start to crawl the hands to the front of your mat and pivot to face the front in a lunge. You're going to set up for single pigeon pose with your left leg in front. So lower your right knee, tuck the toes, and splay open your left thigh, sliding your left ankle towards your right hip bone. Turn both hips to equally face forward, and if there's a gap between the left glute and the ground, fill that gap with any of your props, such as your blanket. If your left shin can be parallel to the front edge of your mat, then make sure you're flexing your left foot, stabilizing your knee. Now, feel free to place any props in front of you that you can rest your torso and head on, such as a bolster, a block, a stack of blocks, anything you might need. There's also an option to come in to thread the needle, which is a twist for your upper back. So if you're going in to thread the needle, place your left fingertips towards the upper left corner of your mat, bending the left elbow towards the sky. Thread your right arm underneath your left bent elbow and lower the right side of your head all the way down. Now, if your head does not comfortably rest on the ground, use a prop as a pillow. Okay, so make any adjustments so that you can relax into deeper stillness for the next 3 minutes before we switch sides. Listen to the sound of your breathing, taking your time to lengthen the in breath and out breath equally. One more deep breath. Very slowly start to lift your torso and step back into downward facing dog. You may like to take a moment to raise your left leg and give it some movement at the hip. And pause for a couple of breaths in downward dog. Feel the sensations in your hips on both sides, left and right. Now, from your right hip socket, rotate your right thigh externally and cross your right shin in front of your pelvis, lower to sit. Take a moment to turn both of your hips to equally face forward, maybe placing a prop under the right glute if there's a gap there. Relax your back toes if your right shin is able to remain parallel to the front edge of your mat. Then make sure that you're flexing your right foot the entire posture. And then you might need to reconfigure your props so that you're able to rest completely down. If you came and just threaded the needle on the first side, I invite you to try it on the second side, placing the right hand towards the upper right corner of your mat and bending the right elbow towards the sky. and threading your left arm underneath your right bend to elbow to lower the left side of your head all the way down, whether it's on the ground or on a block. Make sure your head is resting. Notice if there's any last little adjustments so that you can settle into stillness and breathe consciously for 3 minutes here. Tune in for one more deep breath here. And very gently and gradually, please begin to step back into downward facing dog again. This time, maybe lifting your right leg and giving it some movement at the hip. And then pause in downward dog for at least 2 deep breaths, observing what you're experiencing in your body. Come on down to our knees, and we're going to come into your choice of two also hip opening postures where we're going to integrate both sides of the hips, left and right. So the milder version, if you're feeling really tight in the hips, you might opt for this one, is bound angle pose, bringing the soles of the feet together, maybe sitting up on a pillow and folding forward, maybe stacking some blocks for your forehead. The second one goes even deeper into the hips. And if you have knee issues, probably this first one is a better choice. Otherwise, for the second one, be very gentle with setting it up. You want to step the knees apart, wide, and Turn out your thighs from the hips as you point the knees to the sides of your mat. So you might use the wide width of the mat. Create 90-degree angles at your knees so your toes are pointing out in the same direction as each kneecap. And your pelvis is neither in front or behind your bent knees. It's directly aligned with your knees. And then from here, you could have some props in front of you or not. You can come down to your forearms. So take a moment to choose which hip opener you're going to be in. And we're going to be here again for 3 minutes to find a comfortable enough way, because sometimes in the beginning it's quite uncomfortable, though we're not looking to experience pain. And if you are experiencing pain, get out of that and back off a little or a lot. Okay, setting the time now for 3 minutes. Let your breath support you in sustaining stillness and consciousness while you're here. So rather than the mind wandering off somewhere, you're right here with each breath, feeling the sensations that are happening in your body, even when the sensations might be uncomfortable. If you have any trauma that you've experienced that really stirs up overwhelm, then lessen the depth that you're in the pose and give yourself moments to pause, maybe even come out of it and then come back in gently. Find ways to resource yourself. So we're not trying to force anything onto ourselves. Remember the importance of self-compassion. Last 2 breaths where you are. Try not to rush it. Now, if you're in frog pose like I'm in, take your time coming into child's pose facing the same direction you're already facing. Otherwise, if you're in seated bound angle pose, gently lift your spine upright and stretch your legs out in front of you. And just pause wherever you are. Allow a few breaths to observe your mind, your body, your energy. Notice anything you might sense that's shifting. Very gently roll your spine upright if you're in child's pose. Let's bring the legs both in front. Before we enter another hip opener, let's take a moment to counterbalance all this turning out at the thighs with a seated twist. So extend your left leg forward, bend your right knee, and set the foot down in front of your right hip or crossed outside of your left knee, where you could also choose to bend your left knee. Make sure the way you're choosing to set up allows you to root your two sitting bones evenly, lengthen your spine, and relax your shoulders. Place your right hand behind you, raise your left arm, press downward to your pelvis, and lift up through the spine, breathing in. As you exhale, turn your rib cage to the right gently. Lower the left arm to hold your top leg or hug your elbow outside of it. And continue to breathe, lengthen, exhale, twist. Unwind, straighten both legs, and pause for a moment sitting tall in Dandasana, stick pose. Now let's bend the left knee and set the foot on the ground in front of the hip or crossed outside the right knee, or you might also bend the right knee. If you can, try to set up similarly as to your first side. Left hand behind you, right arm up, press down and inhale, lift up. Exhale, begin twisting to the left. Lower your right hand to hold your left shin or hook your elbow outside of the thigh. And slowly unwind, straighten both legs in front. Sit tall once again and pause and observe anything you feel. So, our last hip opener, I'm going to invite you to straddle your legs wide. You may like to sit up on a prop of your choice, blanket, pillow, block. If you find that you tend to round the back, sitting up on something can help to lengthen the spine more upright. And take a moment to cup the tops of your thighs, rotating your inner thighs back so your knees are pointing up the whole pose. We don't want the knees turning forward. Toes and knees pointing up might help to gently flex your feet if you tend to rotate forward. And then press down to the sitting bones. Have a pillow or a stack of blocks, anything you might need to rest your forehead and torso on in front of you. And then as you breathe in, lift up your chest, relax your shoulders, sit tall. And as you breathe out, little by little, fold from the hips. We're going to be here for just 2 minutes this time. Very slowly begin to lift your torso up. Bring your hands to your outer thighs and draw your knees towards each other. Stretch the legs in front, maybe circle out your feet, any kind of gentle movement if needed. All right, I invite you now to place your body in a comfortable way to lie down in stillness for the next few minutes of Shavasana. You may like to place props under the backs of your knees for lower back support. You may like to splay your feet wide apart so they're wider than your hips distance. Maybe place an eye pillow as you close your eyes. Turning the palms face up, if you place a weight of a sandbag or something similar to that on top of each forearm, that can give you a sense of grounding as well. You can feel supportive for relaxation. So use any props that you need and find stillness. Make sure that you're not exerting any effort to be in the posture of Shavasana you're in. This is about letting go. This is about just being rather than doing. So include letting go of controlling your breath. As you rest the eyes closed and the body in stillness, notice how you're feeling now physically. Take your time beginning to move your body little by little. Ease into a simple stretch and gently turn over onto your right side, resting your head. Notice the quality of your breath, just as it is. How does your energy feel now? And take your time lifting your body up. Please find a comfortable way to sit for 10 minutes of guided meditation. Remember that your posture is an important part of supporting your meditation practice. So find a way to sit where your spine is upright, but you don't feel rigid. You might like to elevate your pelvis on something. Make sure the whole body feels relaxed. Place your hands in a mudra if you choose that supports concentration, such as Gyan Mudra, turning the palms face up on the lap, thumb and index fingers touching, or turning the palms face down, which is for grounding energy, or stacking the right palm face up over the left palm face up on the center of your lap with thumbs gently touching. Closing your eyes or gently steadying a gaze downcast. Begin to feel the natural flow of the breath in and out. During this meditation, anytime you notice that your attention has wandered away and you've become hooked into a stream of thoughts, as soon as you notice you're hooked, you're unhooked. You can come back to feeling the breath, which brings you back to observing your mind. And ultimately, that's what we're doing when we're meditating. We're observing our thoughts, we're observing the mind. Why? So that we can learn what we're holding in our mind, what is driving us, what is motivating our actions every day that we might not be conscious of. So as you're observing your thoughts, notice if there's a pattern to the kinds of thoughts that arise. Notice if there's emotions that you're sensing in the body. Be aware of the body, be aware of the mind, be aware of the breath. Notice where your attention is right now. Whenever you notice that you've been hooked, let go of any judgment. See if you can relax simply back into the breath, back into the seat of observing. Sense the energy of your mind and heart. Notice the effects of your practice. And so we practice observing our minds and Sometimes stuff from the unconscious or subconscious arises to the surface when we get deep into our meditation. When we sit a little longer and our concentration becomes steadier, and we can become aware of things like why you said something to someone, um, the why behind our actions, our daily, mundane, seeming things that we say or do. And as we become more aware, just as the practice is so much about, we can become more intentional, being intentional with what we say, what we do, and aligning to what is most important to us in the long run, right? That inspiration versus motivation. And so now, in what ways can you integrate this self knowledge, this practice of cultivating awareness of your mind and your motivations behind things into your interactions this coming day or weekend? And as you bring this practice to a close, I invite you to think of someone that you appreciate right now. Could be yourself for showing up today to your practice. Remind yourself what your intention or personal prayer was that you'll continue to nurture. And remember to whom you dedicated today's practice. As we close by chanting Om 3 times, let in a deep breath. Ha. 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 Bowing in to your heart center to honor the light within. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste.